Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most frustrating issues Nissan owners face. A CVT transmission problem, in other words, a continuously variable transmission issue, why it fails, how to spot it early, and most importantly, how to fix it before it becomes expensive to fix. So if you suspect a CVT issue in your Nissan, you need to stick around with me to the end of this video, because it can cost thousands to fix a CVT when it goes bad. However, the good news is, most CVT problems don't start big, they start small. And if you know what to look for and fix it early, you can save your car, your money, and you can even do this yourself actually. Now let me show you exactly what those early signs look like, and how to stop them before it's too late. But before we get into that, I want to first talk about why Nissan even has this problem in the first place. Well, it boils down to design limits and physics. A CVT works by using a steel belt or chain running between two variable diameter pulleys. Instead of shifting gears, the pulleys constantly adjust their width to change ratios smoothly. In theory, this gives perfect efficiency, but in reality, that steel belt is under constant tension and friction. Every time you accelerate, thousands of pounds of force press against the pulley's cone surfaces. Over time, that metal-on-metal contact causes microscopic wear, and any loss of fluid pressure or heat buildup accelerates that wear exponentially. Now, in the case of Nissan, they push this design limit to squeeze out more fuel economy by using a smaller, lighter CVT, thinner fluid passages, and a higher operating pressure. This worked beautifully in lab testing, but in real-life driving, stop-and-go traffic, heat, towing, and steep hills, the system runs hotter and the fluid breaks down faster than it should. Once the CVT fluid loses its viscosity, the belt starts slipping slightly. That slip generates more heat, the pulleys glaze, and the cycle repeats until components wear out. To make matters worse, the early years of Nissan CVTs used limited cooling capacity and inadequate filtration, which meant contaminants stayed in circulation longer, slowly scarring the internal surfaces. Even small debris in a CVT can throw off hydraulic pressure and confuse the sensors that manage pulley ratio changes. So when you start feeling that hesitation, whine, or shuddering signs, it's not random. It is pure physics catching up with Nissan design compromises. Let's now move on to the early signs and symptoms to look out for indicating Nissan CVT failure. But before we get to that, guys, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our videos. It also helps support the channel. So here are the signs to look out for. Number 1, a sudden drop in fuel economy. You might also notice your fuel economy dropping. One of the advantages of a CVT is that it keeps your engine in its most efficient RPM range. But when it starts to slip or miscalculate ratios, the engine works harder, burning more fuel to achieve less movement. If your driving habits haven't changed but your MPG suddenly tanks, your transmission might be struggling internally. Next is transmission overheating in limp mode. Nissan CVTs are extremely sensitive to heat. When the fluid gets too hot, it breaks down and loses its ability to lubricate and cool the moving parts. If this happens often enough, the transmission can literally overheat and cook itself from the inside. You might notice that after a long drive, especially uphill or in hot weather, your car suddenly loses power. A warning light pops up and the vehicle enters limp mode. If you don't know what limp mode is, it's basically your car's self-protection mode. When the CVT overheats or detects a serious problem, it limits power, locks the transmission into a single gear, and won't let you accelerate past a certain speed, usually around 30 to 40 miles per hour. It will feel like the car suddenly lost strength, but that's the system's way of protecting itself from total failure. Moving on, we have a whining or humming noises. CVTs don't shift through gears, so they usually sound smooth and consistent. But when you start hearing whining, humming, or buzzing noises that rise with RPM, that's trouble. It usually means the pulley bearings or the belt are wearing out, or the fluid is contaminated. Sometimes the noise starts softly and builds up over time. Other times it's sudden and loud. Either way, it's your warning to inspect the transmission before damage spreads. Up next is a delayed engagement or slipping. You shift from park into drive or reverse, and the car takes several seconds to respond. Or the engine revs freely, but the vehicle barely moves. This is often a sign of internal pressure loss or a worn CVT belt that can't grip the pulleys properly. You might also notice flaring, where the RPM rises but your speed doesn't. At highway speeds, that can turn dangerous fast. Warning lights and diagnostic codes. Of course, the car itself will often tell you something's wrong. A check engine light or transmission warning light may come on. When scanned, these can reveal codes related to fluid pressure, valve body function, or temperature sensors. Common ones include P0746 code, the P0776 code, the P0868 code, and the P17F0 code. These are all related to CVT performance or pressure control problem. If any of those appear, don't just clear them and keep driving. The system is alerting you that a major issue is developing: loss of acceleration or power. In more severe cases, you'll press the gas, and the car just won't go. It feels like the power isn't transferring from the engine to the wheels. This usually happens when the belt and pulleys lose tension, meaning they can't transmit torque effectively. If it reaches this point, the transmission is already near failure. Jerking and shuddering during acceleration. Now, this is one of the most obvious early symptoms is jerking or shuddering, especially during takeoff or at low speeds. It feels like the car is fighting itself or struggling to move forward. You'll press the gas, and instead of a smooth pull, it hesitates or vibrates. This happens because the internal steel belt inside the CVT begins to slip, or the system loses hydraulic pressure. In colder weather or stop-and-go traffic, it gets even worse. This is often the first cry for help your transmission gives you, and it shouldn't be ignored. Now, how do you fix the early CVT transmission failing signs before it gets worse? Let's get into the part everyone wants to know: how to fix or stop these CVT issues before it's too late. The good news is that not all CVT problems mean you need a new transmission. Many can be solved or at least slowed down with the right maintenance and a few smart upgrades. Start with the fluid. First, check the CVT fluid. It's the lifeblood of your transmission, responsible for cooling, lubrication, and pressure. If it's dark, burnt, or smells bad, it's breaking down. Drain the old fluid and refill with the correct type: Nissan NS2 or NS3 only. Never use Dexron or universal fluid. Warm up the engine, drain about 4 to 5 quarts, refill, drive a short distance, and check the level again while it's running. If the fluid was badly contaminated, do 2 or 3 partial drain and refills instead of one big flush. It's safer for older transmissions. Sometimes this simple step alone can eliminate jerking, shuddering, or hesitation if caught early. Replace the CVT filter and check cooling lines. Next, inspect the CVT filters and cooling system. Most Nissan CVTs have 2 filters, one internal and one external near the radiator line. That small external filter often clogs first, reducing pressure and causing overheating. Replace it every 30 to 40,000 miles. Then, check your CVT cooler lines and radiator. If the cooler is restricted, fluid overheats and breaks down fast. In hot climates, or if you tow, consider installing an auxiliary CVT cooler. It can lower fluid temperatures by 20 to 30 degrees and dramatically extend transmission life. Reset or relearn the CVT system. Sometimes the issue isn't mechanical, it's the computer. Nissan's transmission control module learns your driving habits over time. When the fluid degrades, it can confuse the system, causing roughness or delayed engagement. To reset it, turn the ignition on without starting. Press the gas pedal all the way down for 5 seconds. Turn the ignition off, release the pedal, and then wait a few seconds before starting again. Drive gently for 20 to 30 minutes to let it relearn. A professional TCM reset or software update at a Nissan dealer can also smooth out the transmission's behavior. Nissan even issued technical service bulletins to reprogram CVTs that shudder at low speed. Many owners saw instant improvement. Check for warranty or service campaigns. If your car shows multiple symptoms, jerking, overheating, slipping, or poor acceleration, check for extended CVT warranty coverage. Nissan extended coverage for many Altimas, Rogues, Sentras, and Pathfinders covers up to 10 years or 120,000 miles. Call your dealer with your VIN to confirm. For persistent problems, do a valve body and sensor testing. If fluid, filters, and software don't fix it, the issue might be in the valve body, the part that controls hydraulic pressure inside the CVT. A failing valve body or step motor can cause delayed acceleration, loss of power, or jerking at high speeds. A professional shop can test the pressure sensors and solenoids using live data. If readings are off, replacing the valve body can restore performance without replacing the entire transmission. When does a CVT full replacement become necessary? If the transmission makes loud whining or grinding noises, if you find metal shavings in the fluid, or if the car refuses to move even with good fluid pressure, that means the internal belt or pulleys are damaged. At that point, replacement is the only option. Dealers often quote $4,000 to $6,000 for a new unit. But there are rebuilt CVTs with upgraded bearings and valve bodies that last longer than the original. If you must replace, go for one of those improved versions. Now, how do you prevent future CVT transmission failure and problems in Nissan? Simple. Change your CVT fluid every 40 to 50,000 miles, not at the so-called lifetime interval. Replace the external filter regularly. Keep your radiator and cooler clean. Avoid flooring the gas when the car is cold. And if you live in a hot area, invest in a small auxiliary cooler. If your dashboard ever shows transmission hot, stop and let the car cool down for 10 to 15 minutes in park. That pause can save you thousands. Now, back to you. If you found this video to be helpful, please subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video. It helps us keep creating. Finally, check out this other video here where we talk about the signs and symptoms of a bad torque converter versus those of a transmission and how to fix the correct problem.